Hello there, Brick Fanatics. The finalists for Series 8 of the BrickLink Designer Program were revealed over the weekend, and whenever we get a batch of these finalists revealed, the same two questions run through everybody's heads. 1. Why was my personal favourite not chosen? And 2. Okay, how much is this gonna cost me? Regardless of whether or not your personal favourite was chosen, it is hard to deny there are some pretty good-looking LEGO designs here, but they are probably not going to be cheap. Some of these are going to be incredibly expensive, so it is well worth thinking about your budget for the coming year and how much you actually want to spend on some of these sets. Before we get into things, just a reminder that that subscribe button is sitting there and it's looking a little bit lonely. It would be very nice if you were to click on it and maybe also click on that notification bell just to help out the channel. Thanks very much in advance. Just in case this is your first time, the BrickLink Designer Program is a program by which LEGO fans can submit their own personal designs for LEGO sets, and then a few finalists are chosen to go to crowdfunding. So these newly picked Series 8 designs will go up for pre-order this time next year, and then several months after that will actually ship to people who have purchased them. It is a fairly lengthy, drawn-out process, and so budgeting for some of these sets can be a bit of a challenge because you don't know what else you might want to purchase in the intervening time. And at present, there are no official prices for these sets, but we can do a little bit of prediction. We can look at previous LEGO BrickLink Designer Program sets, we can see how they have been priced, and we can extrapolate that a little bit and make some guesses, some educated guesses as to what these sets might end up costing. Quite aside from looking at the Series 8 sets, researching this has been an interesting exercise in its own right. It's been interesting to look at the prices of BrickLink Designer Program sets and compare them with equivalent sets that have gone out to a far wider audience. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at all 5 of the BrickLink Designer Program Series 8 sets. We're going to compare them with previous BrickLink Designer Program sets of equivalent size and look at the prices of those sets. And then we're going to look at some LEGO sets that are on the LEGO website, which have a similar kind of piece count, and look at the kinds of prices for those sets. With all of that information, I'm then going to make some predictions for what I expect these Series 8 sets to be priced at. Just as a reminder, if you feel like helping out the channel and you're going to be making a lego.com purchase in the near future, make sure that you click on the affiliate link down in the description or the QR code that is currently on screen. They take you straight to the LEGO website and we get a percentage of the sale when you purchase through those links. Doesn't cost you a penny extra, but it helps to keep us making videos. Obvious disclaimer here, there is no guarantee that what I predict is actually going to be the prices for these sets. Even the LEGO group themselves haven't priced these sets yet, so nobody knows what these things are going to cost. Right, with that said, we're going to go in order of size from the smallest to the largest, because that gives me the opportunity to start with the hot air balloon. EXE Sandbox's hot air balloon contains 876 pieces, making it the smallest of the Series 8 sets. It was an obvious winner straight out of the gate. I mentioned it in the video that we did when all of these fan designs went up for the crowd vote stage. It was clearly one that was getting a lot of attention right from the start, and rightly so, because it is absolutely gorgeous. Lovely, very pretty rainbow colour scheme, wonderful clouds here. That shaping is just fabulous. All around a good-looking little LEGO set. It is something that we've not really seen from the BrickLink Designer Program up to this point, but as a smaller build, as something that's going to be a little bit more affordable, definitely this is one that I think is going to prove exceptionally popular. I've heard it said by the BrickLink Designer Program organisers that they find there's less competition among the smaller of these sets than there are among the larger ones, and you can kind of see that if you look at all of the designs that are submitted. There are very beautiful, very detailed, very elegant designs, around 4,000 pieces, and there are maybe a fewer of those really nice, really detailed designs at the smaller, like 400 piece count, which is the minimum number of pieces that a submission can have. I think one of the reasons for that is that it can be quite difficult to find the right kind of subject matter for a smaller build, something that you can get a fair amount of detail in, but that is going to be a compact package, and the piece count is not going to balloon outwards and grow and grow and grow as you add more and more detail. The hot air balloon then works very well as something that couldn't be entirely massive and has just the right level of detail. But what is this thing going to cost? It's a bit of an anomaly in the BrickLink Designer Program up to this stage, because there are no sets that are at about this piece count. There are some that are close on one side or the other, either a little bit smaller or a little bit larger, but none that are exactly around that 800 to 900 piece mark. The closest in size is Mushroom House from Series 2, which has 964 pieces. That one was priced at £69.99 or $89.99 in the US, or €79.99 in parts of Europe. That, I think, is a pretty good gauge for this, although it's been a little while since then and the prices of Lego sets have risen, so more recent smaller sets have been priced a little bit higher. For example, currently available at the time of making this video, if you were to pre-order it, is Popcorn Wagon from Series 5, which contains 594 pieces, so it is quite a bit smaller. The price is not that much lower than Mushroom House though. It is priced at £49.99 in the UK, $54.99 in the US and €54.99 in parts of Europe. Another similar small build from Series 3 is Camping Adventure, which has 669 pieces. That one cost £44.99, $54.99 and €49.99. That one, again, just a little bit smaller. I would therefore expect this one to be more closely priced towards Mushroom House, even though Mushroom House had a few more elements, simply because of how prices have risen over time and because of the relative size of this set. There are quite a few Lego sets that are more widely available that are about the same piece count. Here are a few examples. We've got, for example, 21355 The Evolution of STEM, which contains 879 pieces, costs £69.99 in the UK, $79.99 in the US and €79.99 in parts of Europe. That one then is around that £70, $80 to $90 mark. There are a few other Lego sets though with a similar kind of piece count. The price does tend to fluctuate wildly. Here's just a few more for you. 60437 Jungle Explorer Helicopter at Base Camp contains 881 pieces, costs £89.99, $99.99 or €99.99. 31142 Space Roller Coaster contains 874 pieces, costs £94.99, $109.99 or €104.99. 60462 Helicopter, Fire Truck and Submarine Remix, on the other hand, is priced significantly lower. 874 pieces, costs £54.99, $59.99 and €59.99. So there is quite a lot of fluctuation in the price of sets at around this piece count. That being the case, my prediction for this one is it's going to cost around £70 to £80 and around $80 to $90 or euros, depending on where you live. Am I accurate with that? We'll have to wait and see, but certainly other Lego sets of a similar kind of size are priced at around that point at the moment. Next up, Brick Railroad Locomotive by Thomas Roeder. These kinds of train designs have been popular with the BrickLink Designer Program from the start. They serve a very specific niche within the LEGO fandom, one that I feel is probably not being fully served and catered to with the more mainstream LEGO sets that are on the market. This one contains 1,428 pieces, again making it a bit of an anomaly within the BrickLink Designer Program catalogue thus far, because there aren't a lot of other sets that have around about this kind of piece count. Ordinarily, you'll have something a little bit smaller, you'll have a lot that are a little bit larger, but the kind of target for a lot of BrickLink Designer Program sets is around 2,500 pieces. So this one being more like 1,500 pieces, it doesn't really fit in with everything else. That being the case, take these prices with a bit of a pinch of salt, but in Series 5, currently available for pre-order should you be interested in picking it up at the time of making this video, we've got something like Antique Shop, contains 1,918 pieces, it is up for pre-order at £129.99 in the UK, $149.99 in the US and €149.99 in parts of Europe. Alternatively, all the way back in Series 1 of the BrickLink Designer Program, and bear in mind that these prices probably need to be adjusted for inflation a little bit in the intervening years, we've got something like General Store, which contains 1,906 pieces and cost £119.99, $159.99 and €139.99. Both of those sets contain several hundred more elements than Brick Railroad Locomotive, so do bear that in mind, but the prices are around about 100 and something pounds, like just over the £100 threshold. Alternatively, on the other side of the spectrum, you've again got something like Mushroom House, which has significantly fewer elements and came out quite a while ago, and so therefore is probably priced significantly lower than what we're going to see from this set. That one, with 964 pieces, costs £69.99, $89.99 and €79.99. If we look at the wider LEGO catalogue, there are a few more LEGO sets that are priced at around that 1,500 piece mark. I've decided here not necessarily to just pick the ones that are the closest to the size of the Brick Railroad Locomotive, but instead pick some that show off the variety of different prices that we see from sets in this kind of ballpark of size. So we've got 21347 Red London Telephone Box, contains 1,460 pieces, costs £99.99, $114.99 and €114.99. $103,339. Then there's 10339 Santa's Post Office, contains 1,440 pieces, costs £89.99, $99.99 or €99.99. Finally, a little bit smaller, 10315 Tranquil Garden, contains 1,363 pieces, costs £94.99, $109.99 and €104.99. All of that being the case, my prediction for the cost of this set is probably something around £100 to £110 and $120 to $130 or euros. Now, the prices for dollars and euros for most LEGO sets at a more widespread mainstream release generally tend to be relatively equivalent. Now, you do have to factor in that tax then goes on top of that US dollar amount if you're buying in the United States, which feels really weird to Europeans, but fair enough, whatever. So the US sets are probably going to be slightly pricier because of that. But either way, you do see a little bit more fluctuation in the cost of these BrickLink Designer Program sets, depending on what region of the world you live in and depending on what factories are available where you are. There's also, and I don't talk about this enough in these videos, but there is also a fair amount of fluctuation in the cost of a LEGO set in euros, depending on which European Union country you live in. So while I'm giving these prices and these estimates in euros, bear in mind that there is a big old wild card there, depending on which particular country you live in. Anyway, moving right along, we've got Coconut Cape by Ballistic Bricks. This is one that I do quite like the look of. I really enjoy that kind of Portuguese or Spanish-esque inspired architectural style here. It definitely reminds me of times in my life when I lived in a Portuguese colony and that kind of architecture was everywhere. It's also a very nice piratey set. I've realised as time has gone on that I am more and more drawn to the pirate sets of the BrickLink Designer Program than anything else, so it would be very interesting to get my hands on this one and have a little play and see what I think compared to some of the others that we've had. For example, the Thieves of Tortuga, which is currently up for pre-order, which I absolutely adore. Coconut Cape is a fairly easy one of these sets to price, simply because there are a bunch of other BrickLink Designer Program sets that have been around this piece count. It contains 2,425 elements, which is right bang smack in the middle of the threshold for various different sizes of these sets. 4,000 pieces on the one end and 400 pieces on the low end. When the BrickLink Designer Program team pick the finalists, they're aiming for an average of around 2,500 pieces for all of the sets. So if you make a set that is around 2,500 pieces, it's a freebie. They don't need to work out how to balance other sets. They just say, okay, cool, that's our one that is right in the middle. And so you do see a few more of these than you do sets that are at either end of the scale. That being the case, here's a few previous BrickLink Designer Program sets that have had about the same piece count and their relative prices. Mushroom Village from Series 5, currently available for pre-order, contains 2,436 pieces and costs £189.99, $209.99 and €209.99. Medieval Seaside Market from Series 4 contains 2,560 pieces and went up for sale at £199.99, $229.99 and €229.99. Siege Encampment, also from Series 4, contains 2,598 pieces and went up for pre-order at £199.99, $229.99 and €229.99. Finally, Harbour Master's Office from Series 3, a little bit older this one, so adjust the price in your head, contains 2,418 pieces and cost £159.99, $199.99 and €179.99. It is a little bit more difficult to find more mainstream LEGO sets that are around this piece count. This is very much a spot that the BrickLink Designer Program is camping on in terms of size. There are a few that go kind of either side of this piece count on the LEGO website that you can purchase right now, and there is a wide variety of different prices here. And so again, I've tried to pick some that show off the full variety of how much money you might need to spend in order to get some of these. 10360 Shuttle Carrier Aircraft contains 2,417 pieces, costs £199.99, $229.99, €229.99. 21341 Disney Hocus Pocus The Sanderson Sisters Cottage contains a slightly smaller 2,316 pieces, costs £199.99, $229.99, €229.99. A little bit bigger, 31215 Vincent van Gogh Sunflowers contains 2,615 pieces but no minifigures, costs £169.99, $199.99 and €199.99, so slightly cheaper. This being the case, my prediction for the price of Coconut Cape is somewhere around £200 to £210, $230 to $240 or euros. That's the same as recent BrickLink Designer Program sets that have a very similar piece count, and it's kind of in the middle of the more mainstream widespread LEGO sets pricing. Finally, the last two on the list are both big old chunky sets with around 4,000 elements. We've got University of Science by King Creations, which contains 3,995 pieces, and Dustmark Keep by BrickHucker, which contains 4,000 pieces on the dot. Just as an aside, it's nice to see King Creations finally get a big one across the finishing line, because they've designed a bunch of really cool BrickLink Designer Program sets in the past, but they've all been relatively small builds. This one, a massive one, is going to be a lot of fun, I feel. But anyway, University of Science and Dustmark Keep, both around 4,000 pieces. We have precedent for that within the BrickLink Designer Program, specifically in Series 5 that is currently available for pre-order. Adventure in Transylvania, as mentioned, contains 4,056 pieces and is up for pre-order at £299.99, $349.99 and €349.99. The Thieves of Tortuga from Series 5 is also currently available for pre-order, contains 4,002 pieces and is up for pre-order at £299.99, $339.99 and €339.99. Before these two, no other BrickLink Designer Program sets were ever quite this large, but if we go back a little way to Series 3, we've got Lost City, which I personally quite like. 3,506 pieces, cost £239.99, $289.99 and €269.99. This is actually one of the easier comparisons to do with mainstream LEGO sets, because there are quite a few at around this 4,000 piece count. 21356 River Steamboat contains 4,090 pieces and costs £289.99, $329.99 and €329.99. 10326 Natural History Museum contains 4,014 pieces and costs £259.99, $299.99 and €299.99. So both of these sets a little bit cheaper for being more widely available. And the last one I wanted to mention, that's absolutely not the case, because you're paying the Disney tax. 75397 Jabba's Sail Barge, registered trademark, contains 3,943 pieces and costs a whopping £429.99, $499.99 and €499.99. And it's a big brown lump. So compared with that set, the BrickLink Designer Program sets that have around 4,000 pieces are quite a good price. It is my expectation that University of Science and Dustmark Keep are going to be priced at around the same point as the other 4,000-ish piece BrickLink Designer Program sets that we've had in the past. Unless, of course, the prices for LEGO sets in general skyrocket over the next 12 months, which is absolutely possible. We've seen it happen before. Expect then to pay around £300 to £310 in the United Kingdom, and maybe $350 to $360 or euros. All in all, Series 8 is going to take quite its toll on your wallet. If you happen to be a particularly big fan of any of these, it is well worth bearing that in mind over the course of the next year if you need a little bit of time to save up. Which of these are you planning on picking up yourself? Let us know in the comments down below, and do all of the rest of the YouTube things. Give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe and the notification bell. Make sure that you do go to brickfanatics.com for coverage of all things LEGO, and sign up to our newsletter so that you never miss anything LEGO related ever again. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day.